panel discussion, the Fireside chat. Thanks Ramesh again for the great presentation. And we'd like to welcome back Stephen Miles, CTO of APJ, CA Technologies, who will be moderating this panel discussion, please. All right, please also put your hands together to welcome back Ramesh from SingPost. And Mayan from TRPC, please. Managing Director of TRPC, who presented the Application Economy Index white paper just now. And of course, Kenneth Arredondo from CA Technologies APJ, President and General Manager.
Well, welcome back. And thank you very much, Ken, Mayan, Ramesh, for joining me here on stage. We thought we'd like to use this time to really dig into some of those burning questions that I'm sure are on all of your lips. You know, there's little snippets of detail that I think are worth just embellishing on and getting a bit more insight in. And so we're going to use that time to do that. You know, as I think about this morning, listen to Ken's presentation, we heard about just the sheer magnitude of change and disruption taking place. It's just, it really makes you take notice. Mayan took it to another perspective and level where she shared just how pervasive this is within our region and just, you know, how seriously the different areas and the different countries are taking this. And then you heard from a leading disruptor live, Ramesh from SingPost, who shared some of the attributes and the focus of some of the things that they're working on. So, you know, distinguished panel, I'm just overwhelmed by the amount to do, on each company's to-do list. And I'm just wondering practically, how do companies start? I mean, you know, let me perhaps ask Ken. Ken, do we have the right leaders in place in the companies that you meet as you go around the region and in these different enterprises? And do you see different roles emerging perhaps to take on this challenge?
I do see different roles emerging, but I also see I forget the expression used, multidisciplinary people emerging in these roles. It starts with a culture of agility, to be able to embrace some of these changes. If the organization at the top doesn't embrace change and this kind of innovation, it's not going to happen. I've seen organizations bring in chief innovation officers, chief digital officers. To me, that's just an outcome of what's going on. Whether you have those titles or not, whether you are bringing those positions in, that's the way the CISO, the CIO, the chief marketing officer, everyone is thinking now of bringing innovation to the business, whether or not you formalize those titles.
Mayan, what's your view from your world?
I really agree. I think that what we're seeing is different people within their roles, different roles in their companies, looking at digital, well, I know I'm going to use a word which Ram said he didn't like to use, digital transformation, and seeing how new tools, new opportunities with apps and devices and new things like drones can be accelerating a business. I think that decisions are being taken on the micro level. You talk about microservices. I think on the micro level, everybody's looking and seeing how do you make a change for the better on every single level. And I think that that's sort of, I wouldn't say decentralized control and decisions, but you can see that more people are actually realizing they have to step up and make those decisions.
More stakeholders.
Exactly, more stakeholders are coming up to the fore because they know that if they don't take that step, their department is going to get left behind, much less the company's going to be left behind. So when it hits your own personal KPIs, key performance indicators, then it sort of hurts a little bit more.
Sure. So Ramesh, what we're saying is less leaders and more cross-functional teams?
I mean, leadership is always required. Okay? I mean, people without leaders, nothing happens, right? There is no country or there is guidance. Now, how does you take it to every level? An example I'll give is, again, I'll give a SingPost example, which is really fascinating. I've not seen any other company which has a structure. Actually, we've got a technology board. Okay, so 4 people from the main board actually run the technology board. Okay, it's run by very eminent people because it was felt that 5 years back that it is so important that you need to have guidance at that level. Okay, I mean, it is just not someone telling me what needs to be done, but the amount of information which is available is so much, right? So it is always very easy for me to get validated by extremely senior people in the industry at any time at will I want. So which is a great model, and I don't know why many companies are not following it, and I don't know whether it will happen soon. But that's a kind of structure which you need to think about. And second, if you see, we've got a CEO e-commerce who's an extremely technology-savvy guy, head of digital booming, so he knows everything. I think they all know more technology than me, but unfortunately, I'm the CIO. Right? So I've told them 3 things, right? Cybersecurity, you guys have to come to me because I can't have 55 cybersecurity solutions, right? From where you are getting your resource to do your programming, you have to come to me because I need to ensure that you do it at a cost, which is absolutely acceptable. And third, any architectural clearance, they will come to me. But how do they do the project? Whether they do waterfall, agile, in which geography, it's all up to them. Right? And in fact, I'm one guy who always, encourage shadow IT. That takes less responsibility for them.
So on the board, can you elaborate? Is it board of director level?
It's a board of directors. So 4 people from the main board: Prof. Lob, who's the CEO of NRF, Bill Chang, CEO of Singtel, Aliza Knox from Twitter, and then Mike Murphy from the US, who's an entrepreneur who started many companies. They all sit on the main board, but they also sit on the technology board to just guide what's happening in the technology board. And it's quite interesting. I mean, they know so much of information, and many times they know much before that actually it gets released in the market. So it's a bit of a challenge for me always to keep pace. But that kind of guidance is required because this field is extremely complex. I mean, just me on my own, I think it would be very difficult to do my job. And then it is, as Ramesh said, it's an industry which gets disturbed. There's disruption. There is innovation. Very different business models. That's a great way of actually managing the organization. That also says how important technology is for SingPost.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of examples of that. That's pretty innovative.
So hold that thought, because that kind of warrants the next logical question I have. Maybe I'll start with Ken again, which is, so if the to-do list is so large, and teams are already thinking about new positions and better cross-functional teams to take on this challenge, with the customers you meet, and you obviously fly extensively through APJ, as we know, and the customers you meet, what are you seeing as their top priorities? Where are they starting first?
I think, again, it goes back to you have to have the leadership, an agile, whether it's implementing pure agile technologies, at least an agile mindset. The mindset that you're going to approach things in an iterative fashion, quicker to market, to be able to get immediate feedback, that feedback loop, to assure that you're rolling the features and product capabilities back in a much more rapid manner. Most of the CIOs I talk to and CEOs are talking about getting ideas to market faster. That is the bottom line. But throwing technology at it alone is not going to get it done. It absolutely has to have that mindset, that agile mindset, that culture of innovation, the culture of to fail fast. If this isn't the right thing, move on. Try another path. So that's what I see most of my, and they're worried about the upstarts coming to take their business. So and justifiably so.
Man, you shared with us a very interesting perspective on what the region looks like in that perspective. What do you see as the top priorities in terms of where they're going to start?
In terms of governments and in terms of the region, I think
Let's start with customers.
Well, okay, for customers, I think that the ability to take advantage of the opportunities, both the willingness, the desire, and the ability to actually take up the opportunity. I think that's very. I think that's very key. Having on road or on ramps that allow small and medium enterprises, for example, and bigger enterprises, and to take up technology and to use the platforms which are available. I think that's fairly key, and that would be, I think, a very important thing for consumers and customers to want and to see. So I think that is a very key driver, to see that a company is open, that the hand is outstretched and available to say, we're happy to be connecting with you. We would like to talk with you. It doesn't matter what size you are, whether you're an international company or whether you're just starting out. We'd like to chat with you and see what your issues are, and let's see how we can help. So I think that's very important, that on-ramp, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I see that too. You talked about failing fast, and we should also talk about failing fast and failing cheaply.
Yes, indeed.
So having an ability to do that is important. Ramesh, is it the same as SingPost?
Of course, if you really know, in the first phase of transformation, all of us used to have something called as an immunity card, okay, where we can make a mistake and then we say that we have made this mistake and then give it to the CEO and he said it's okay, move on. I mean, it did help. I mean, I've filled it a couple of times where I said that, look, you know what, I mean, it could be, you know, it could be as big as starting a business. Someone says, you know what, actually, this is a bad idea to do, right? But then, how many times you can walk up to someone senior and say, you know what, I'm not going to do what you say. And then you fill up the card and give it to them and they say, no, I'm going to say what I want to say. Okay, we've got away. I mean, I won't say that, you know, we've got away with murder, but I think, you know, it gives at least an opportunity to discuss why we think we did what we did. Because you don't get shot for that, because that's very important. And then, especially from an industry which has been there for a long time, I think it takes a long time to change the mindset of people. I mean, if someone thinks that you put in all these things tomorrow, you're going to change the mindset of people, it is not going to happen. So that's extremely important. And then I think we also need to be very, very keen to work with partners. I think that's also important. I don't think we can solve every single problem on our own. If you feel that there is something out like this, it's nice, it will help us, just go get it and see how. I think those two things we really follow.
Is this card reusable?
I've
Get
used
out of-
twice.
get
So
out of-
I mean, so
get
happened
out of jail
they just changed my, the access pass. So it had it behind it. I just realized I don't have it now. Otherwise, I've shown it. And definitely, it still exists. Yeah. So we can use that.
And I think that relates to what you mentioned, Ken, about how the different multidisciplinary smaller groups are actually making decisions. I think the ability to fail fast, fail cheaply, and the ability to not get penalized
Correct.
by it, I think that's very, very key in this next lab.
And just on that, because you know, a lot of Asian organizations historically have been very hierarchically centric. Typically, a lot of family-run businesses are propping up some of the largest, most successful companies in the region. Ramesh, when you talked about that sort of grassroots revolution that's really required to drive and change the business, are Asian companies addressing that? Are some of those traditional success factors that got them to where they are today being changed appropriately and at the right speed to enable that to happen?
See, I think speed will always be a challenge, right? Because it is very relative, right? So I think we need to go through the journey with every single individual. I'll give an example again. If you really look at our couriers in Singapore today, they actually used an Android phone. Okay? Previously, they used to use these big handsets, so we got rid of them and we gave them a simple Android phone. We were quite worried whether people will use it or not because they were so used to using the big one. But a couple of days, then we trained them a lot, then people kind of liked it. But then when we did that, what we also ensured is that whatever features they want is present. Okay, that's important. I don't think people ask very complicated things. I sometimes feel people in corporate office ask a lot of things, but really frontline ask things what makes their life better, right? And then people in corporate always say, no, you don't do it, right? But we are completely opposite. If something comes up from the ground, we really look into it and then just ensure that it happens, right? So it takes a bit of time, but people kind of like it. You know, you need to ensure that you give the, not only just an act, but you need to ensure that you listen to them. The moment they know that you listen to them, they behave very differently, and their demand sometimes goes down.
Yeah.
The problem comes when you don't listen to them and you say, what is the best way to do? So that's why, how do you, to this point, everything needs to be agile. I mean, I could come up with a great process which could save a lot of money on the back end, but if that restricts the front end, what's the point? I mean, I was just discussing with my friend, I can't name who it is, they're trying to roll out an app. The problem is, the country regulator has said that it cannot be installed on a jailbreak form. They said there is no technology today to find out that. Okay, and the management says, well, the regulator said we're not going to talk to them, we need to find a way out. But I think no, you need to now talk to the regulator and make them understand that just simply not possible. Right? So now they're not being agile, they're very constrained, and I don't know why the regulator said that. I'm not in Singapore, it's in some other country, right? So these are the kind of things I think everyone needs to agile, try, experiment. And again, we can get all those ends meet.
And on that note, Mayan, you talked about the region's perspective of the different countries and different areas and the rate of pace and change and who was leading and who was following in that sense. Is that a big difference? Is it lip service versus real action?
I think that there are different countries which have different tolerances, different abilities to change. I think that there are some regulators who do pay lip service, some regulators who have a bit more stringent rules, some regulators who are not willing to engage at all. But in the same way that companies are seeing that decentralized mode of innovation take place and decisions being taken at different levels, we're seeing different countries have different approaches. The central government might actually say one thing, but you have one of the departments of the ministry saying, actually, we really want to be innovative, so can we talk to you on the side and have a off-the-record conversation, which is actually quite fun to see. You have you have countries like Singapore, which is re-looking at how they're reconfiguring a lot of their ministries and where they sit. You have, again, Digital India, which is, again, looking at how to use digital technologies to propel India into the next level of growth. And you have a lot of these initiatives which are moving on. So we're seeing different approaches. I'd say that that Asian governments are being a little bit more responsive than most, I'd say, from my perspective. So I think that's it's looking rosy, but we're not quite out of the woods just yet.
Yeah, just on that, I mean, when you presented earlier, you shared with the audience the findings from your survey. There were a lot of questions, and there was a lot of debate in certain areas around your findings. But may I ask you candidly, what surprised you in the findings the most? What stood out for you as the most outstanding facts?
Well, I think that what stood out for me was the fact that we had to take a snapshot now and then put in a snapshot for the future, because when we initially did the first app economy index, and we realized that the current leaders in just economically speaking, we're still the leaders in the application economy index. That ran counterintuitive to what we were assuming, you see, because we're realizing that actually we have to do a second type of index where we're measuring a new kind of economy. What are the measures for that kind of economy? That to me was very surprising. And I had a number of questions after my session from the journalists here who said, why didn't we, Japan, asked about Internet of Things. Why didn't you have an index for the Internet of Things? I said, that's perfectly fine. I think that's a very valid question. We don't have the statistics. We're not measuring things like how many smartphones are there in the country being used at the moment. We don't have those. We don't have how many Internet of Things are being connected in the country. Not across the board. They're not being connected by the World Economic Forum. They're not being this information is not being collected by the Internet ITU, by the World Bank. It's not at the moment. So I'm very surprised that globally we know that the digital economy, the application economy is coming.
Yeah.
Nobody's measuring it.
And Ken, it's a great leveler, right? I mean, the real message is, and I think you said it yourself, is that it's table stakes being rebaselined, and everybody has the opportunity to come at it again and come at it afresh and really start new.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely a leveler. You talked about Indonesia being able to leapfrog. Some of the countries in Latin America, some of the emerging economies here, they don't have to go on that journey. Mainframe, distributed. They don't have to take that path. They can go directly to the latest technology, app-based. They don't even know they're connected to the internet. That is a great advantage of this type of technology. We're able to leapfrog right to that and skip all of that investment. And to me, that gives some of these these new emerging countries an advantage in that they don't have to deal with those legacy systems. So that kind of surprised me on the survey as well. I would think there would be more of that showing up.
Yeah.
The other thing that surprised me, Mr. Miles, is that this was supposed to be a fireside chat, and I really
I'm
wanted
told.
the fire.
You wanted the real fire. I think we need to look to the organisers to point well that. And Ramesh, just, I mean, and you said it earlier, and I think you crystallised it perfectly, which is, we can have all the best intentions in the world, we can think about being disruptive, we can hire all the best people, but hey, if the government and the regulators don't keep pace, we can slow us all down. Right?
Yep.
Final question from me to the panel. My 13-year-old son came to me the other day. He wanted to chat with me to talk about what he's going to do in the future. We talked about being a doctor, we talked about being a soccer player because they make great money, and we talked about various other careers. And I said, forget it. You're going to write code. And by the way, at the same time, you're going to take me along with you because we all need to know how to write code. But may I ask each of you, what advice are you giving to your children in terms of the futures and how does it play into their role in the application economy?
Okay, I mean, if I say anything after my kids will not listen to me, that's so that's going to happen. But I again, if you see, frankly, I don't know whether my son is 13, my daughter is 7. I really don't think my daughter will use Facebook ever.
Really?
She said, she's a little bit, I mean, because of that, I've stopped using now, that's a different story. And she said, seriously? So then she says, okay, what next? I said, there's nothing next, that's it. And again, and my son, other than videos, he does not see anything else. He really does not like, anything else. And to be honest, they actually, now they've become very TV, they like a lot of TV. I don't know because whether it is TV is coming back in a big way or what, they're very comfortable with the TV. Just that, it's going to be tough. Of course, I keep telling him programming is the only one which will survive. For a good programmer, I think you can make money forever. So I think it saves you quite a bit of things. That advice I will definitely give, but whether they will follow, I'm not sure.
So you see a ground-up rebellion against the digital era and people wanting to get back to real things.
Because they really don't, how do I say, right? It's really not fun. Right? Even for me, right? I'm connected to whoever I need to connect to this world, right? Actually, I check Facebook just 10 minutes every day for the last 3 weeks. I weekly install the app. LinkedIn, if I get a mail, if it's interesting, I see. And actually, I've got 2 hours of my time back, so I've gone really back to reading a lot of things, what I used to do. Watch a lot of cricket matches again. So it's kind of, I'm happy.
Guys, we're running short of time, sorry to interrupt you. Ma'am, what about you?
I think that when the younger generation asks me things like that, I don't have kids. I always say, point back to Ram's multidisciplinary thing. Learn coding, but learn something else as well. Do something else that has, be a journalist, but be a coder as well. Learn business, but also learn coding. I think it's one of those basic skill sets that everyone's going to have to learn.
First word with you, Ken, and the last word will be with you.
Sure. I have 6 kids, and 5 are girls. And they don't listen to me. They're a little older, but I will say they don't, per your comment on Facebook, the people that use Facebook now that I see are our age people. That's who's on there. My wife is always on Facebook. The kids don't use Facebook, or my kids don't use Facebook as much. They use Snapchat constantly. And one of my daughters, who's a nurse, every time she gets a plate of food in front of her, she Snapchats it to her friends. Like every meal, she takes a picture of her food, which I have no idea why. But yeah, they definitely are using the technology in a different way. Facebook is being left behind. Snapchats and these other things are rising. My kids are into the medical field, healthcare, but that is an industry ripe for change in the application economy. So whether they embrace it and drive it or end up using it, it's coming their way.
Thank you. Well, that brings us to the end of our little fireside chat without the fire, as Ken
Really would like to.
points it out. Thank you, Ken. Hope you all enjoyed that. I think we're now going to hand back to...
Yes, thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Ramesh. Thank you, Mayan. Thank you, Ken. Well, can finally give them a round of applause, and that gave you a lot of food for thought. Right now, it's time for lunch. Lunch is served